States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
One more thing.
Nice little crowd this evening. Good to see everybody again.
Thank you. It's good to be seen.
Sarah, were you just talking about your ice cream? Is that what I was
Yeah,
talking about?
yeah.
You didn't have any, like, at the bottom of the barrel to bring to the meeting?
Oh, we could adjourn and go down there and eat the bottom of the barrel.
That
Yeah.
sounds good.
Actually, I think it's all moose tracks too.
Do we adjourn now or?
That's a motion, I second.
All right, roll call.
There you go, see?
Do this, make this official at least. Mike Fowler,
I'm here.
Lawrence Myers, Nicole French,
Yep.
Jack Ketting, Dee Patel,
Here.
Susan Johnson,
Here.
Sarah Menard,
Here.
Dina Kreitler, she said she was going to be absent, Donna Roush,
Here.
Kelly Fowler,
Here.
Candy Sue Mahurin,
Here.
and Laura Oliver said she was going to be absent. Okay. You got a quorum.
You have a quorum, good. Nice crowd, okay, approval agenda.
Motion to approve?
Second.
And a second, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? Okay, moving right along, take a look at the minutes from last time, back on August 17th. My, how time flies, huh? I'll take a motion for approval whenever somebody is ready, so,
Motion to approve?
I'll second it.
and a second.
Who made the motion?
I did.
Okay.
That was that way.
That's why I didn't know if you were saying hi or not.
Oh, no, no, that was me.
All in favor?
And we need an all in favor on that, thanks.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
All right, so included in your package is the latest financials. So probably in the back part of your grouping. So we've got the revenue and expense report so far for the fiscal year, which started October 1. We've received $1,828.60. We budgeted $20,000, so we've still got $18,171 that we're looking at collecting. And then, as you can tell under the expense part of it, there are no expenses at this point. And then you've got a breakdown of the lodging tax receipts by month. That's this longer spreadsheet. I noticed in previous packets that was distributed. And that was put together by the city treasurer. And then we'll look at the lodging tax itself as it's broken down, and what we have in the reserve fund at this point, and what we've collected and we still have. So as of 9/30/2021, with interest, we're at $57,139.51.
Just that.
Happy, do you know what the expenses on 8/31/21, the 2450?
So for CTM Media, is that what you're looking at?
Yeah, mine just, it's blank, so I'm curious.
So CTM is our rack
Got the
cards.
rack cards?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're looking at. Yeah.
It's on the lodging tax page.
21's looking like it's back to, on a track for a good year, back to 2023, 2009 and 10 is pretty interesting with the totals. I don't know why, I just think it's interesting that back in, we're at 24, over 24 now this year, and 2009 and 10 were about the same.
Right.
Fell off there a little bit. The 17 was high because of one large payment, so I'm kind of discounting that. Pretty steady though the last few years.
Yeah, you stayed pretty steady at about 22, 23,000.
2017 was good.
Yeah, 17 there
That
was a
the
payment.
eclipse.
Was that the eclipse?
Yes.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
right.
Look at your July, I mean, it's
Mhm.
just,
It was the eclipse year.
it's your anomaly for that group.
Wow. I started saying we need more eclipses.
No, there's one coming.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. We need to be ready for that.
Good.
Need a motion to approve.
Yeah, so we're at that was your report. Motion to approve the report, financial, well, specifically the financial, yeah.
Make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
All in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. Don't see anybody in the back.
There's Jack.
No, there's Jeff.
Hi, Jack. So we can move along to the, anybody on,
Oh, we'd like to- Forgot to include that as part of the packet.
Mr. Tourism Director report. How are you this evening?
Very good.
Good.
Very good.
Good to have you with us. Good to have you with us. Just jump right in by way of introductions. I don't know, have you met most folks yet?
Most of the faces around, there's a few faces that I have not met at some point in time. And as you might imagine, with the first 30 days of jumping into lots of things and hitting moving targets, and trying to figure out where I'm going and what I'm doing and what I've got to work with, it's been very good to hear some feedback from a few of you already, and so that's great. And the emphasis has been on lots of one-on-one to get that feedback for the first initial period here. And I'll just say that I'm learning a lot. How about that?
Good, good. Well, welcome. We're excited to have you with us. Yeah.
Do you, did the city give you a desk? Do you have a home? Do you have someplace you call?
Technically, I
Yeah.
have two.
Okay.
I'm here at City Hall.
Yeah,
That way I'm in shouting distance for Happy.
so they gave you someplace to light at least?
And then I'm also splitting some time down at the Welcome Center.
At the Welcome Center,
of course.
okay.
And that will even out as we move along. And then I will continue to put an emphasis on continuing to visit and to communicate with all the entities that are involved.
Good, good. Well, I need to ask, as you've been here a few days now, you dug into the website and probably brochures and different things, any first thoughts on that or the town in general?
Well, let me start with just the town in general. The reason I'm here is because there's a lot of potential here, and there's a lot of potential that is untapped, is what I'm finding in the first 30 days. St. Genevieve has, I'm not really telling you anything that you don't know, but just as an outsider, which is fantastic, because I actually get to see the city every day as do the tourist. because I'm learning and I'm finding how difficult it is to learn about St. Genevieve, or how easy it is to learn about St. Genevieve and what it has to offer. So the city in and of itself has lots to offer at this point in time, with obviously room to grow. And in regards to, I guess, moving forward, that is super exciting. I'll put it that way.
Good.
And now websites, certainly as a tool, that's one of the primary tools, especially in today's world and today's economy. And the initial thought on the website is the fact that there is a lot to be desired about the website. There needs to be more opportunities. I think the very first thing that I saw was the lack of call to action in order to convert a casual viewer of the website into a customer. We don't have any opportunities to book hotels or motels online, dinner reservations. We don't have that opportunity to buy tickets for tours. So we need a quicker resolution to conversion on the website. That's the first thing that's outstanding. Beyond that, there's just some simplification, and then we need it much more responsive, which is to say that it's needs to be very mobile friendly. And 85% of everything that is done online in today's society is done on a mobile device. So we need to make sure that it's cognizant of having a mobile friendly appeal.
Mm-hmm. What'd you call it? Call to action? Is that what your, that the terms were?
Call to action, CTA.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That is buy now, book now.
Okay.
Those points.
Okay. Interesting. Kelly was talking, was that a customer you were talking to this past week? That was,
Yes.
I don't know if they were redirected on a mobile device.
I don't know how it happened, because they were searching for things to do in Kentucky. They were en route, and St. John popped up, and so they ended up here. And I don't, I know. The St. John app kept popping up, so they decided to divert and come here. So, but I'm not quite sure how that happened.
Good job, Jeff.
Keywords. Those have changed a bit. So,
So it worked.
yes, good to know.
Is there some connection, since that's where you're coming from?
Directly.
Are you usurping some Kentucky websites?
Well, just including some keywords and some hidden data that's on the website will result in some differences in searches and how. So Evansville has been targeted specifically in Indiana and in Paducah, Kentucky, and a few other places. And so it's good to know that some immediate feedback. Very good.
Very good, thanks. Look forward to working with you. Okay, on the old business? Or do you have the?
I don't have anything really more to add, except we had like 260 kids Saturday for the spectacular, 100 and some adults with them. They look pretty busy downtown.
Yeah.
Say outside,
Yeah.
handing stuff out.
Those monster tails don't go well in the shop.
No. And I don't have the updated numbers for the folks that visited the Welcome Center. I don't know if you got those from Regina yesterday or not. So we were down a little bit from May and June into July. August, I suspect, is going to be a little bit less. September, it'll just kind of keep creeping down, but that's kind of expected at this point. So I don't have any updated numbers for you. That's all I have.
Okay,
Besides that.
all right. Budget from last time, right?
Yeah, so from the last meeting we had, in your packets, it's the Tourism Tax Commission. This is the proposed budget. So I just wanted to get a base number to give to the board so they could approve a budget for the TTC. So we figured at 18.4. We did not spend that much last year, obvious reasons, we just didn't have time, didn't have people, and there wasn't much going on with COVID.
Yeah.
So we broke it down into a couple of printing items, a radio item, some festivals, print media, and then the largest chunk is for the website. And it kind of includes our discussion this evening. There's been some discussion that maybe we weren't including everything that we should be in this group. But again, we're kind of going off what I saw from the last couple of years, and it wasn't that much. In those categories, tried to put something in there so that we could start figuring out what we wanted to spend it on. So CTM has already started discussions with extending the rack cards. I don't think we're out yet, but I think we're running down. So we've signed up, we're at a monthly contract at this point. So we can get into, once they give us a proposal, we can get into another long-term contract with them. And then look at printing more cards as we see fit. But that means we'll have to get back into the printing. At this point, Jeff is working on the website, trying to come up with, what do you call it? A wireframe. Just a basic outline of what we're expecting to have happen with that. So we're not doing as much producing as we had been before he got here. So we have Christmas coming up. Last year, I know we spent $900 on radio ads it was for public radio. If we're going to do more than that, and I think you heard from Annette today, Annette Rolfe, they were expecting more. We still have money in our general fund for marketing. So we're not totally without available funds to put the word out there, to try to get people in town for the holidays. But I'm not sure what those approaches were like previously. So some input on that, some ideas on what we've done. I know radio advertising was part of it, but we're doing radio advertising as it is now through the state grant that we have. So we're on Campbell X and KEZK. We're on WRVR in Memphis. We're on TV stations in Decatur and Columbia Mo. So we've got those media platforms filled. I don't think we need to advertise extra unless you think we need to put something in particular for Christmas. Because we have, the Christmas parade, but what else? Or do you want just to talk about, come to town, do your Christmas shopping, which is kind of what a couple of the ads are already, that we placed on TV, that's kind of what they're promoting as it is now. Because we said, come in for the fall and for Christmas.
A couple years ago, I had picked up a Missouri Life magazine, and it was for the Christmas issue, and there was whole towns that were advertising a whole page ad with several different maybe shops that had taken out, shared the cost or whatever. So there was like St. Charles, Kimmswick, Herman. I don't know if, I had talked to Sandra about it. This was probably a year before last, but they were advertising, come shop, and then there was several shops that had, taken out like 1/8 of a page ad or whatever. So I don't know if maybe that's something that we could look into.
I bet we're past the point of their deadline.
We are now.
Usually for print,
Yeah.
It would have to be earlier than this.
Yeah.
Sorry. I mean, we can do more
Next
website,
year.
we can do more, try to get the word out on Google. I mean, if whatever you think would be effective that we have time to put together now. We can change our radio ads too. I mean, we can update those.
And that would be my recommendation is in lieu of that print at this point in time is consider more of a local approach and direct from the outer lying areas of St. Louis and Memphis is to direct that to the local markets, and local being from Farmington to Cape and obviously Perryville and this immediate area here.
Jefferson County.
And Chester, obviously. So there are some, and certainly with that type of budget, radio has that ability to be more immediate than print with less planning.
So we can do that, and we can do that through a general fund, so we don't have to have tourism tax to approve that directly. But we are going to need some more brochures, We're out of brochures at this point. We're just copying what the merchant page is. So we've got the map and then the listing of the merchants that we're handing out at this point. So we don't have any prices yet. We'll get those and bring those back to you. Last time we had some assistance from the county as well to put that together. Fairly effective. The staff felt that it really get the message to whoever was visiting well. They knew what the historic sites were, had some explanation. The map was good. That's one reason we've just done, front and back of 8.5 by 11s, because that's the most effective. It's like here's where you can go.
And it's easy to carry.
Yeah. So we will bring that back. But I am looking for at least a preliminary on the revenue, or on the budget. So
On the budget, yeah. So again, these are, it says type of advertising, these are examples. For instance, the radio says Christmas event 900, is that specifically for the Christmas
that
event?
would be specific for
It
Christmas,
is.
yeah. Rat cards would be the same thing. It would be CTM, but we would, have to bring that back.
So would there be other radio costs for other events, or are we looking at all 900 for radio for that event?
I remember it being just solely for
Was it?
that purpose.
So the Christmas walk should be the start of the Christmas season, not the finale of the Christmas season.
Yeah.
So if we put all the advertising into the Christmas walk, then, we need to promote it
It's like a
later on.
bottle
in the month.
rocket, psh,
Yeah.
over and done, yeah.
So if you want to, that's where I come down to festivals. We can amend that. If you want to put more money into Christmas marketing, we can break out a number.
What if, and now hear me out, what if we put marketing into January when no one comes? Everybody comes at Christmas, nobody comes in January. January is our problem. December's not. People need to come stay at the places. Do you have people come in January, or are you just
I collide with Mississippi line, so
yeah,
I
have
did last year.
problems.
I had people every weekend in January
Yeah.
come and stay at the cabin.
yeah. Well, it was new. Was
tourism
last year
is
your first
really
year?
good with
Yeah.
Airbnbs right now.
Right.
But the main thing is the shops. People don't know what we are selling. I literally didn't know what he was selling till 2 weeks ago. And I am so mad at myself because I've always wanted to go to that shop and I couldn't because of my personal time problems. But literally, what he sells, I saw it in St. Charles. Literally. So what I am thinking is that we need to let people know what all our shops sell. Because people do want to buy unique gifts. And we need to support the local people, not like Amazon. Stop Amazon. Let's support the people. So let's get people in town. And then I think we should have specials. Like, I'm pretty sure everybody will give discounts. People love discounts. Even 5% off of what you buy, or maybe you go see 5 stores and then you get 5% off. Something like that, And I know people want to come to St. Genevieve because I personally know I have brought in so many tourists from wherever I go. I just take the brochures and go stick it in their rack. Literally, I've done that. And I've brought theirs for St. Gen too. So I think we should do that. Like something when you advertise on the radio, change it to something like that.
So what I have a problem with is we market generally.
Right.
If we start getting specific,
Right.
who are we leaving out? And if we don't cover
No, but we
everybody.
can let the people know.
But if there's a way that we can distribute that information, we say, come to visit stgen.com.
Yes.
And then if you want to have a discount card or a discount amount or something.
Right.
people
Like how we
can
do
click
for
on.
Moonlight Madness.
Yeah.
It's a good concept, because we need to keep busy every time. And I think we can come up with something for every month. We can figure it out.
Right.
So are we kind of in agreement that the Christmas festival, that's what we're saying, radio Christmas events, it goes toward the Christmas festival?
That's the, yeah, So I'm still learning what it is.
It's been called many things.
Yeah.
The Christmas walk,
Christmas
holiday.
walk.
So we got a parade that
Christmas
morning, and then there's stuff
extravaganza.
else that
Right.
night or something.
But I
yeah.
think we're all in agreement that that weekend is fairly well attended, so maybe
Right.
some of our funds, if we're gonna advertise for Christmas, would be better off not just for that weekend, because that
Right.
weekend is generally very well attended.
Because
And
the
I'm-
Saturday before, we have Small Business Saturday.
Right,
Yes.
yeah.
And that benefits all of our stores that are open.
Right.
It benefits
But then we
everyone.
also still have like 3 more weeks until
Right.
Christmas, so it's like, don't just come that one weekend.
Yeah.
Come all the time. Yep.
So what
Here's
you're
your
saying
ad. If you hate crowds,
Yes.
come after the holiday Christmas festival. Because we're still here.
And you're not. Use that. Please write that down.
That's our new
perfect.
slogan.
Yes. Because a lot, and you know, with Corona, people don't want crowds.
You hate crowds. Have we got
Yeah.
a town for you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
January, looking pretty good.
And February, and March, and April.
I think we have a lot going on, so it'll be nice. I have a feeling we're gonna be really busy.
Is Annette expecting us to throw $900 into radio advertising for that one event?
I have not talked to her directly, and
And in our conversation today, she was expecting that and perhaps more.
Okay.
Well, what was it last year?
Yeah, what did we do last year?
all I remember last year was the $900 for radio.
Yeah.
I don't remember anything else.
Apparently, at some point in time, it exceeded the $1,000 mark last year.
How generous.
And the reason that I know that specifically is because of various levels
Because
of
she told you.
advertising and recognition. And so we were at the top level, in which would exceed $1,000. So, but to your points about the other months and the other times, the most effective advertising is consistent advertising.
Right.
And especially with radio specifically, since we're on that topic, radio, you need an absolute minimum, if you're consistently advertising, you need a minimum of 2 weeks in advance of consistent advertising for an event. And that is if you are already currently advertising on a consistent basis, of which we are not. So you'd have to take that into consideration, that you'll have to create some momentum in order to then for this $900 investment to have a return on investment.
It's like those damn Fleets equipment commercials. They're always on the radio. I don't know how much money he spends on radio ads, but every time you turn on the damn radio, Fleets equipment outside of St. John. I'm
You're
like,
remembering it,
I
so
got
it's
it.
working.
I got it.
So it sounds like we need to increase the budget for radio for next year. Is that possible?
It's up to you guys. Yeah.
For
Well,
all,
just-
for general, just not just.
How much more would we need to be effective? I mean, I think instead of just
What
throwing
was
money
she?
at it,
Yeah.
let's get a goal.
Well, that would depend on whether you're talking about a quarterly campaign or
Right.
you're talking about an annual campaign.
Right.
So I would need to put that into context before I answer that.
And I think for that, that's when we look more at a marketing plan. And then we
Right.
bring that to you and you approve that. But this is just to get us by for now, and then put together, give us time to put something together to give to you to say, here, we definitely have a marketing plan, here's where we want to go with it.
And a marketing plan, obviously, it needs to be a whole lot more money. And, multi-platforms, and it that hit and miss advertising, like, oh, let's all buddy up and buy in one ad in the Kirkwood Times. One ad, one time, 1 week. That's not gonna cut it.
Can we get sponsorships for these ads?
So you can, what we don't have is the staff to be able to try to coordinate all of it, so we have to be very careful as to what we will
Right.
ourselves. We can do a few things, but trying to get sponsors for everything would be, and then it comes down to we just don't have the staff for it. to
And then it's the
coordinate.
same sponsors all the time
And I don't want to,
with this town.
pick the same people every time, because,
Right.
then they get tired of doing
No,
stuff.
some are very tired.
But yes, if we had something like, let's say a billboard where you have one person on one side and then we do the other side, that cuts the cost in half. It does
Right.
make it affordable for everybody
Right.
and for a longer period of time. I wouldn't recommend a billboard at this time because we don't have a marketing plan. We do have a slogan, but we
Yes.
don't have, something consistent to put out there.
Our slogan.
Not that one.
You saw my evil dream.
Yes.
And I listened to Dee.
So have you gotten like quotes on a website redesign, or are we just like 10,000, that'll do it?
10,000 is a start. We're estimating between 20 to 25,000. Yeah. We may be less, but
Let's hope.
we do have what is called MPD money from the state. There's 5,000 of that available. So this helps match that, so we have that available. And then if we need to get more, then we'll have to find other sources for it. But it also depends on where we decide to go with it, and eventually, who does it. And that'll bring in a lot of that cost.
Can we
So
also?
you hire a marketing company or a design company?
Right.
And last week at the tourism conference, Jeff had a chance to talk to some companies that do that, and they understand the tourism aspect. So
Sure.
they have that talent. But we've got people in Cape Girardeau and San Luis that also have that ability.
Right.
So there may be a number of different people that are aching for that. And it may be where it's a low cost up front, it's just your your yearly cost could be, for maintenance, could be a little bit more. And that may be the way that goes.
And on the front end of that, that's the reason that I'm working on the wireframe currently, because that development is typically something that absorbs a great deal of your budget.
Sure.
So the planning and the conversations and sessions, and so I'm fortunate that I can bring that to the table and present, and that will be
Right.
already finished.
Right.
So that should have some substantial savings. To what degree depends on who we're talking with.
Right. So then in regard to the festivals,
That's what I was gonna ask.
like,
It doesn't,
are we cherry picking, or like, how are we deciding what we're gonna throw money at?
Yes,
Okay,
it's up to you guys.
Yeah.
So I've listed a couple just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about.
okay. These
So-
are not set in stone.
so
Yeah.
the rest of them, show the type of media, the print, the radio, the website. Festivals isn't that. Festivals.
Right.
It just says festivals 2000. Should we?
Right, so are
Should
we
we
printing
simplify this and
posters?
say,
Are
right,
we-
right. Should
what
we
are we
simplify
doing?
this and say, we want to spend this much on print, this much on radio, this much on social media /website?
Right.
Done, right?
And then maybe like $50 on like a sign spinner person to get people to the parking lot, It's important.
Well, I don't know that we need to, I don't know that we need to say 2,500 rack cards, 1,000 visitor guides. Now, if those dollars are guides to how much we've spent in the past, and therefore, right, so that's one thing, but I don't want our budget to be, I don't know that our budget should be wrapped around specific 2,500 for rack cards. Why don't we just lump printing together, decide as percentages? First of all, decide as 18,000-ish, a good budget number based on past and what we have income and expenses. 18,000, and then say what percentage do we want that to go to radio? What percentage do we want that to go to website or social media? Kind of without necessarily saying this festival or that festival.
And that's why out to the right, it says yearly, and then it says proposed.
Right.
Right.
So just to give you an idea of what we have spent in the past, and what we're probably going to need to spend for the visitor's guide, for brochure. But
So
others-
for clarification, the 900 is radio annually,
Yeah, that was,
not necessarily for one event.
that was for the Christmas.
It's
event.
for the Christmas
Well,
event
it says
every year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Once a year Christmas, so once a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then we have festivals, and that's if you wanted to assist, if, Jour de Fête wants some, boost in advertising to get people here. It's a 2-day event. Let's have them come in and, encourage people to stay overnight and see the event for 2 days. Kind of where we get our money for tourism tax
Right.
is from that. For rural heritage, that's a 1-day event, but
Right.
Donna's still alive, so she can tell us about it after putting it together.
I was like, is she dying?
No, she's been trying, she's been working hard.
wasn't it?
She's been working like crazy putting that together. So, or any other event, because you got Pecanapalooza, you've got Night of the Werewolf, you've got the
French
Art
Heritage.
Walks.
We've
French
had so
Heritage.
many things lately that have, we've had so many things that feel like we added to the list of things in town lately, right? And one of the things that we're doing different this year is, for instance, you see on our agenda, citizens to be heard. You know, we decided to collectively come together as a commission and an advisory committee and hear folks to kind of say, hey, would you all consider spending such and such dollars on this event for tourism, right? So having said that, maybe I'm not saying we can't set aside certain dollars amounts for rat cards. The last thing we want to do is spend our print budget on one event and then not have enough for rat cards, because we know that there are certain things that are important, right? But if we take our budget and break it down percentage-wise and say, okay, we're going to do this much for this, this much for print, this much for radio, whatever we decide those categories are, okay? And then if somebody comes in and says, hey, we have this big festival coming up in 3 or 4 months, would you all consider spending X dollars? Well, let's take a look at it. You know, what would you like it for? Well, we'd like it for radio ads. Let's hear more about it. What are your radio ads? What are they going to be? What's your target audience? Things like that. And then we look at our radio budget and say, well, where are we on the radio budget?
Right.
You know, we're out of our radio budget. Sorry, let's try again next year. Or, you know what I'm saying? So then we're kind of looking at categories as opposed to maybe pinpointing things now.
And your yearly budget will change once we get the website done. Then you're not going to have that major expense that we're looking at.
And we can amend the budget through, we can move things around within categories, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know, just, I'm a little bit hesitant to say, yeah, let's approve this with 2,500 for rat cards and 900 for Christmas festival. I'd rather go, I would rather suggest we go percentage-wise by radio for now. Ideas, thoughts?
I like that in theory, but my mind just keeps going back to marketing plan, and without having that
Right.
marketing
And
plan, it's really
Right.
difficult to know
Yeah.
what's going to be effective and how much. And then the other thing I keep seeing is we're spending $900 on one event and $2,000 to split up among all the other events, and that
Right.
seems a little skewed to me.
Right.
Listen, in some respects, those events should also have their own marketing funds.
And I believe the Christmas festival does too.
Right.
They've got a lot of sponsors.
They
Right.
they
So-
collect money.
Yeah,
They
every
collect a
business.
lot of money.
Yeah.
From us.
And I mean, I'm all for
There you go.
supporting it, I just
Yeah.
wonder if
Well-
we should, if we've only got 2,000, and there are a lot more festivals that have started the last year or two, well, year,
Right.
and that just seems a little skewed to me.
I agree.
I agree. I also think that the Christmas festival is unique in that it has all of those music venues that are free. That kind of sets it above all
For each
the
of the
others.
participants, but they're paid performers.
Right.
So they do have to.
Yeah, they have to have a budget
Yeah.
because, but the audience, the customers get to go free. So it is a kind of a unique, but where are we, was it not suggested, or did I just dream this, that organizations would have an opportunity to ask for assistance?
So we discussed
So
that, but it was
we-
kind of shot down.
Okay,
But that's why we have these citizens to be heard.
Right.
So if they do want to come in, we will start recommending that. We just have not been recommending.
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems to me like everybody would be asking for money.
Right,
Or, given the opportunity, everybody would ask.
right, right.
I mean, maybe not, but,
At this point, we don't have a way for them to make that request. And we just have not encouraged it because I don't think either the commission or the tax commission has been open to that.
Right. We
Not
also
trying
don't
to,
have any criteria or anything that
Right,
says
we
like,
haven't.
yeah, you can have money, but you can't.
right, and there's not enough money. to be handing out lots of money.
Right.
And there's no way to process it. There's no way to
Right.
make a reasonable decision about
Right.
who should or should not
I mean, we can make
get
up some.
assistance with advertising.
We can make up some criteria, have you adopt it, say, here, we won't spend more than 500, we won't, you know, it has to be a multi-day event or a single-day, all-day event. or
Right.
Something that we think applies to the tourism tax.
Right.
And then we could just do that in-house at a certain level. If they want more, you can go talk to the TTC and the TAC, and then we can look at approving that, or they can approve it. We just haven't gotten that far into it.
So what do you need tonight? Do you need for the
18.4?
TAC to approve a proposed budget that you can take to the city council?
So the
Is that what-
TTC, I would like for the TTC to approve the 18.4, because the commission, the Board of Aldermen have approved that, but you technically have not approved that. However you want to break it up is up to you. We generally come in and ask for permission to do this, this, and this. Again, if we set up some of the reason I've also put in like rack cards, visitors guide, and Christmas events, you approve that, we can spend it. We don't need to come back and
Right.
say, oh, by the way, it's gonna be this much for rack cards.
Right.
We can get the bottom line and then get them done. We can do the brochures, get them done.
Especially since we talked about going to quarterly meetings instead of monthly.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you're gonna be, yeah.
And we've been trying to hold it at that. We've met sooner, but that's because Jeff's here, and I wanted to make sure that we also looked at this. But with the festivals, print media, and again, the website, if you approve the website, we can move forward with that and get that done. And we don't have to bring it back to the TTC to approve. It's already been budgeted.
So if you divide it in printing, media, and website, can it go forward?
If
Because
you,
have the printing, 2 printings, the visitor guide and the rack of cards, and then the magazines and newspapers, if you put that in one.
you can combine that however you want. If you want me to take out festivals, put in, you can take out print media and just say, we could just adopt like $4,000 in,
However you guys want it, but like if you, because you have the website is really important.
Yeah.
So that will not stop your work, you know?
right. So you can still leave Christmas event as it is, the visitor's guide and the rack cards, we can leave those as is. If you feel those are important. If you don't feel those are important and you want to combine it into something else, we can do that.
Because it's October, so we need the Christmas
Yeah,
thing
we
going
need to decide, yeah.
with
Yeah.
the radio ads, because it needs to start.
We need visitor guides too,
Yeah.
if we're out. That's kind of a priority.
Mhm.
So you just want the amount approved right now?
Yeah, well, we have a bottom line amount, and then if there are certain things that you want us to spend the money on, we can get those approved now as well. That's what the budget, same thing as the Board of Aldermen, we take a budget and say, here, we're gonna spend this, this, and this. Not always are our line items 100%, but we've been given the okay to spend that money. When we tell them what we're going to spend it on, except for office supplies, that kind of stuff. But I mean, it does carry into the same categories. We probably wouldn't spend anything from festivals and print media, say, until we got the okay from TTC, because that's generic, too generic, I would say.
Mhm.
But the others, we know we're gonna have the rack cards, we wanna keep those, we know we wanna do the visitors guide,
Okay.
we know we wanna do the website.
Website, yeah.
And there are a few categories for you to consider, not necessarily print versus radio versus digital, but there are also categorically, if you consider, some of these are what is more maintenance versus periodic. And so some of those may work into some of your plans. Obviously, rack cards are a good example of that's just maintenance. You need those on a consistent basis versus the periodic event advertising. So those are different strategies, and sometimes the flexibility helps a great deal in that as you think about how you're going to structure that.
So is that gonna be your gig? Are you gonna put together a proposed marketing plan? Is that
And-
what's coming down the line?
Essentially, that's what I'm working on right now and gathering the information because
Right,
I want
right.
to make sure it's an educated approach to that, not
Right.
necessarily what I'm bringing and preconceived ideas about where we should be. But I am hearing that there are things that have been missed, there are things that have been maybe overemphasized and not on a consistent basis. And I think the consistency has really been the point that I've discovered that hasn't happened. And I think that some of you mentioned regarding diversification. We do need to have a very diversified portfolio in our investment in advertising and marketing, just like that we would with financials. So moving into that, there's lots of different categories and lots of different strategies about aligning certain businesses and entities and depending upon the demographic or the psychographic approach, whatever we're actually targeting. So to not get into a marketing workshop tonight, but there are a lot of moving parts and pieces, and that will change. And the reason that will change and the flexibility, and I'll drill down to digital and specifically social media. Facebook changes their algorithms on an ongoing basis. So what happens is when we place ads, posts, depending upon what the algorithm says, it may get suppressed at a specific time period because of new changes that we didn't anticipate, so therefore it may cost more to get something pushed through those algorithms. That's a moving target, and we don't have any control over that. Radio cost points fairly fixed, as is print. Print is changing every day. That was one of the things at the conference, that so much more print is now actually relying on the digital component to support it, because the print isn't having the impact that it quite honestly had 5 years ago, and especially 10 years ago. So they're now matching that with digital just to hold on to what they have in that market share. So some of those it's very difficult to sit here and say this is exactly what we need to do, because there's a lot of parameters that are different every day. So like I said, there's lots of different strategies and how that can all be put together, but certainly some flexibility as we go forward would be of a benefit, just to get the better return on investment.
What he said.
Okay, so what I would propose is that we, from the TTC members, need a motion and a second, or if you want to come up with the amounts, but we need a motion and a second to adopt the budget, and then get that passed, and then we can move on. Eventually, you're going to have a plan, but it takes time. We can't do it overnight, and Jeff's still meeting people, so I'm getting a lot of input.
Well, I think that, in this case, we're not really looking at the type, and some of them we are. It says type of advertising, but we pretty much know, I think I'm hearing you say that the rat cards is $2,500, the visitors guide is $1,000. The Christmas event in the past was $900.
Do we have any idea what they spend on other advertising for that event?
No, I was not a part of it last year, so I don't know.
She could probably tell you, though. I mean, she does an awesome job doing it.
Yeah, but then I'd have to have a conversation.
But I mean, give her kudos.
That's the best weekend of the year for me, so leave it alone.
She gets the job done, let's say that.
Christmas walk.
Oh, yeah.
Gets the job done.
Hands down.
Yeah.
So I shall approve it.
Let me make a motion.
And I would like to make a motion to approve it.
So what exactly are we
I-
approving?
I think
The-
the 18,400.
Just the
The
bulk sum?
18,400.
No, we'd be approving expenditures for each of those specific, the rat card 2,500, the specifics here, unless you all want to, somebody wants to talk about changing these amounts around. That's what he's looking for.
Yeah.
The generic one here, if you want to call it that, is festivals, right? So if you, in order to keep things moving forward as far as advertising for events that are around the corner, they really need us to say, okay, for now, we know we need more print cards, and we know the Christmas event and other events that are around the corner that we want to advertise for. So we really need to, I think we owe it to them to give them a dollar amount, right? But there's nothing that says we can't talk about these dollar amounts. And if we want to move some dollars around, the one general one right now is the festivals, okay? Because that's a lump sum of dollars. The way I'm looking at this is the festivals is the one that's really not earmarked for anything. That money that's in festivals isn't earmarked for anything specific. The rest of those, the $2,500 for the rat cards, the $1,000 for the visitor's guide, the $900 right now for the Christmas event, and the $10,000 for the website, when we vote on that, that's going to give them the okay to move forward expending those dollars. So
Let me ask this, did you put festivals in there just assuming that somebody's going to come ask?
Because I think part of what you want to do as the tourism tax is bring people in. And
Right.
That's what your money's for, and these are the events that people are having. Don't we want them here?
So does
Could you
the
combine that with
festivals,
radio and do the radio ads
we
for
can
those
do
You
any
can.
festivals?
That's what he's
Yeah.
saying, is right now, the $2,000 would be for other festivals.
but that
It could be
other
radio, it
festivals,
could be-
does it include Christmas too?
We can. I mean, I'm putting a couple of generics in there, and festivals was a category, and print media was another category.
So if somebody would like to make a motion to change the amounts in these specifics, we can do that. We can put more or less into the festivals and kind of hold that, right?
My question is, how come we don't lump Christmas with the other festivals? Is that not,
No, radio.
So the
we
radio,
do.
so would you just lump it all into radio?
Yeah.
or lump it all
Radio
into
and
radio? Or,
festivals.
I mean, I don't understand.
So
I don't think I quite understand the breakdown. Maybe I'm not, but, I
Well,
mean,
if we don't tell them, if this committee doesn't tell them, for instance, that if we lump it into festivals, if we lump that 900 right now into festivals, then the city, are making the decision on how much that specific festival gets. Not,
So just real quick,
Right.
difference between TAC and TTC. TTC has to approve the money that's.
Right, I know.
spent. Okay.
yeah,
So we need for them to tell us what to
Right.
spend that money on. So I'm looking at some specifics and looking at some generics that we can bring back for the group to decide. So that's why you have, and so I know what we're spending on those top three categories and what I want to spend on the website. The other two, just kind of open, I just thought,
And
well, festivals be good to boost them a little bit.
Right.
and
we could
print
say,
media,
other, we could say other, general category, festivals, whatever. I'm kind of looking at the festivals as a generic category, right?
It can be,
But if
yeah.
you're looking for specific dollars, I'm going to ask, just for clarification again, where does the 900 come from? Is that because that was what was requested, or because that was
That's
what
what's
was
been done
given?
in the past.
That's what we did last year.
That's
So
what we did
when I
last year.
put this together, which
Okay.
is back in July, that's what we had spent, so
That's what we spent, okay.
well, maybe I'm asking, should, what we're calling festivals, your federal heritage, should that not be included as part of the money spent on print media? Or part of the money spent on radio?
It can be,
It's a little vague.
It
and
is.
there's no structure to it. And it's not really enough money to do much anyway.
with it, right.
So it's,
the 2,000, you mean?
yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do with $2,000?
Well, the two together, print and festivals together is $4,000. So what's the breakdown for the print media? I mean, how much do they spend on?
That's a good point. The
Is
print media,
2,000
the print
been
media is,
spent on print media in the past?
It
I mean,
has-
where did that number come from, or is it just,
To total 18,000.
okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and that's a good point. The print media there, the top three you mentioned, you said the top three, and then the website. So right now, it seems like the print media and the festivals
Are generic.
is kind of generic.
Yeah.
Can we agree to that?
Yeah.
So if we do that and say, okay, they're looking for our approval, They're looking for advice from the, you know,
Advisory.
Tourism Advisory Committee. They're looking for approval to spend the dollars from the commission. So right now, if we lump those two together, we got 4K, and it's kind of not earmarked, if you want to call it that. But they're looking for a vote on the 2,500, the 1,000, the 900, and the 10,000. If we want to change those around and take more out of the 4 and put it someplace, or less out of one of the others and put it into the 4, is that?
Yeah, you can put it all on the website, you can put it into the,
But we don't have to decide on that, where that's going right now, the 4. Okay, that's kind of our
It's
bucket of money.
It's just a general fund.
It
right
is.
now.
We need to give them, the city, the approval to move forward on some of the other specific things that need to be done. Rat cards, visitors guides. We need to get those printed. We need to move out on that. So that's what we're giving them.
Can I ask one more stupid question?
I mean,
So, for instance, festival is Jour de Fête. If Jour de Fête asked for money and you said, yeah, you can have $1,000, they decide how they're gonna advertise with their $1,000, and it's not the city bought and advertise, and radio ads for Jour de Fête?
so at this point, my proposal is that they come before the TAC and the TTC and say, here, we would like for you to help us.
Right.
Like the band grant, we're gonna pay $800 for an artist.
Right.
We want the TTC to help us market by doing blah, blah, blah. And then you say yes or no.
And so they decide
And they'll probably
what
consult
market
with-
to advertise in
Well, I
and
think
what
they should,
radio ads
my
to buy.
opinion is they should bring that proposal to us. Sarah.
Yeah,
They should come to us and
Exactly,
say,
yeah.
we want to spend $300 on radio, and here's the market. We want to spend another $200 on newspaper ads, okay? But I think they should be specific about that, not just, can we have $1,000 for advertising?
Right,
Right.
it'll be more in consultation with Jeff to begin with before it's brought to this, for these boards, so that they have a better idea what they're gonna spend it on.
So they just can't come and say, I want $1,000.
They
On
could,
your
but they
budget.
probably wouldn't get it approved.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, they gotta be
Right.
specific, right.
So it looks like, starting out our budget, it looks like we have some things earmarked, and then we have a kind of a bucket of money that's not, that we can still at least have some control over. Because once we vote yes, if we vote yes, then that gives them permission to go out and spend $2,500 on rat cards, for instance, tonight.
Right.
We could just lump the other sum into like radio and print, you
The
know,
the other sum could be whatever comes up in the future,
right, for all the events.
the 4,000.
It's just a general.
so what I was gonna do is just like a budget category of general, put type of advertising to be determined, you got $4,000.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like.
TBD.
TBD, yeah.
Okay.
But we can still talk about the other amounts.
I was gonna say, what about that 900? Would you not have 4,900 to do that with, or that's already?
That's what we're talking about.
Not unless you wanna put money in there. If you wanna use that
I mean,
4,000.
unless that's already been said that we would give that.
The reason why we are trying to, maybe wanting to earmark something specifically for that weekend, you know, Christmas festival weekend, call it what you want, is because the advertising is happening now, or it's getting ready to. So, they're not here to propose that, we get it, we kind of, but if we're gonna, if we want advertisement for that weekend, then we need to earmark something specific for it tonight.
So will that 900
Does
be
that
enough?
mean they can't come and get
Or
more
do
later
they
from the
need-
4? Sure they
That's what
could,
they
but
asked in the past. That's what they asked for in the past. And if you wanna spend more of that 4,000 that's left over and say, put it into Christmas advertising, then Jeff can do that.
That's right.
Again, we already have some out there as it is. So I don't know how much more you need. If we would be doing more locally to get people in. You know, Farmington, Perryville, Cape, Jefferson County, I mean, you mentioned that.
is the city spending advertising specifically on the December events coming up?
No, we haven't discussed that. It's what we have out of the state funding that we put out there at this point.
Okay,
Yeah, we haven't allocated anything for that type of marketing yet.
okay. And the state funding has been, okay. Clear as mud? we, you know, in order to keep things rolling, especially going into this season, let's put it that way, we have to approve, or a commission has to approve certain dollars for them to be spent, if we want it to be spent now. And I think we all are saying, yeah, we do. But if somebody wants to change the amounts, I'm all, you know, we can discuss that.
So at this point, D has a motion on the floor.
I was just writing it down and putting it.
It would have to be amended to include the new recommendation of approving all of the budget items except for festivals and print media, turn that into a general amount of $4,000 to be determined later by the Tourism Tax Commission.
Unless it would get
That's
approved
exactly-
easier by the aldermen with specifics.
The aldermen don't spend this money.
No, we
They
have.
only approve
Don't they-
the overall
the budget.
amount,
Okay.
the total amount. That's why I brought the 18.4 back.
Right.
The board has approved that, but I had to get that to them, so we had that in our full budget. But they don't do the individual amounts because they, by law, it's Tourism Tax Commission that has to approve it.
I'll second Dee's motion.
And we're clear on what that motion was.
Yeah,
It's been amended, dude.
Right.
yeah,
Been amended to have a general,
yeah, just a general category
okay,
to be determined.
okay. All those in favor?
Uh,
Opposed?
Hold on, I need to have just Tourism Tax Commission vote on that.
Right. I'm sorry, yeah. Because we're approving expenditures of tax commission, of dollars, not tax commission, yeah.
Yeah, Tax Commission dollars.
Tax commission dollars, that would be,
TTC.
that's correct,
TTC, yeah.
So having said that, all those in favor?
Is all the radio ad going, like, is all that money going to one radio station?
I thought it did.
Because that's what it did
it's-
last year.
yeah.
It said it went to St. Louis Public Radio.
Right. They figured that was the audience that it would reach, that would bring, they would be bringing into St. John.
Okay.
Well, go ahead and continue our vote, and then we can,
Yeah.
okay. So all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. I know that we're kind of breaking new ground here. I get it. There's going to be some learning curve with the efficiency and the way the advisory committee and the commission comes together and looks at things and votes on things, okay? We're going to get through it, and I think the lesson, or what I'm seeing tonight is that you know, there's some specifics, there's some great ideas about where we spend the money and where we allocate funds and how we go about this. So one's specific, but the other one isn't. And it just leads us to say, you know, that we probably need to, whether there's working group meetings, whether there's something that we need to get together and kind of talk more about certain areas of improvement. But all in all, the commission approving the dollars is the bottom line. The advisory committee and bringing, you know, folks together on downtown and everywhere else through the director to get the ideas around the table, and then the commission approve it. So hopefully we're heading in that direction.
And I think this shows that it's with this group, you get a number of different ideas that may have been separated before, and so you don't have any cohesion as to what you're looking at for advertising.
I bring that up because there's a lot of good things came up tonight. You know, wow, we're here last minute. Do we want to approve that much on this specific thing or that specific thing? But the idea of a consistent message throughout the year, which is what you're hitting on. You know, where is January, February, and March? You know what I mean? So those are great ideas, and if we want to earmark some dollars for a consistent message throughout the year, then we can do that. So some great ideas. I guess what I'm saying is we can change things up, right?
And when we come back with a marketing plan, it'll be the whole group that decides on that.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
But
So-
moving forward for tonight, there's some things we
It
had to
needs
get.
to go, yeah,
had
I
to
get it, I know, yeah.
We're not offended.
No, I just,
I just want to make sure that we're all,
I just wondered, and I also wonder, do you write copy? Where do those ads come from? I mean, I've heard some of them and thought, who wrote that?
I think they do.
Yeah,
the
either-
radio
Like the
station.
stations? the
Yeah, and then
radio
they,
stations?
then I think they send you a sample and then you approve it.
So Jeff wrote the last ones and had them produced for KMOX and KZK. Before, we just had the station, send us a
Template.
script,
Yeah.
and we'd look at it and say yes or no. And then they'd send us the audio, we'd say yes or no, and then it'd be on the radio station.
I thought
TV station.
I thought I'd lend 39 years of being in that industry too.
I don't know why.
Well, you got some good pipes too, you can record them, yeah.
Yeah.
Let me get a house first,
Yeah.
and then a studio.
The bowling alley downstairs
Yeah.
with the green screen.
yeah, yeah. Okay,
So we've, upcoming events and activities, Rural Heritage Day is this weekend. It's coming together.
People are still calling last minute, can we come and set up? And I go, I gotta find a space for you, but yeah.
do you want to give us a quick overview of what we're in for?
Well, this is really different than before.
Right, and that's kind of why I'm sure a lot of people are curious about, what's, the events are uptown now, is that right?
It's all uptown, except there will be down at Candy's, there'll be people down at her yard too.
Good.
And we're gonna have tractors and wagons, and the route will start, and I'm gonna meet them at 8:30 in the morning to show them the route. They're gonna start at Candy's, come around, and then back around again. So they'll be stopping in different areas around town. We're gonna have, 8, 9 different groups of people in our yard.
4 or 5.
I was going to say, Candy's got a few, right?
Yeah.
And she may get more.
Yeah, I'm the overflow too.
And the French Colonial Center, they've gotten people together, so there'll be people in their backyard, just doing different kinds of crafts and things that were done in the past. One of my goals was, a lot of times, because I lived right there where the Rural Heritage was, and a lot of those people never came into town. They would go that far and that was it. So this is hopefully going to get more people in town. And that was part of the goal, to get people
Is
up
anything
here.
with your board?
Yeah, Gee-Board's going to have a couple of things,
Right, we're gonna have
tatting,
yeah,
oh, and chair
crafts
painting.
going on.
And we'll have the Civil War group, we'll have a rope maker, we'll have a spinner. Susan Corbett, who's a well-known food historian, is going to be in our courtyard doing some demonstrations on food from the period. So we're gonna have a lot.
Dennis?
Dennis Stromat will be on our back porch.
It's always a draw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've
Yeah.
already had, I don't know how many calls today about that. Should we bring our lawn chairs or whatever? I'm kind of like, just bring a quilt, sit down. But yeah, it's starting to look like there's going to be a lot.
I'm not gonna be open, but I have a backyard, but the antique shop.
Oh,
Debbie will probably
that
do
would be a place to.
But
put
I have a
some-
backyard, if you end up, you
With
got
too many
one other guy
people.
that wants to build a fire or something.
Yeah. Well,
Fire making demonstration.
it's always something, yeah, especially in our backyard.
If somebody
'cause-
wants to cook or a
Yeah.
blacksmith or something.
Well,
It's just a pretty empty backyard.
I don't want fire by my cabin.
in the past, I wouldn't let any of the milice or the Civil War do a fire on the yard, but I told them I'd put something down for them, because, it's an archaeological yard. So you have to be careful with carbon, that kind of thing. But we're going to try to work it out this year, so we get more going on. But she's got a fire pit, so.
Is
Oh,
there
yeah,
gonna
I
be-
do.
Is there gonna be some designation at all the locations, like balloons or a sign or a big number or?
I
If people
don't-
wanna do their own.
They're just going to walk around and do their
And
thing.
people
So
wanna do their own.
the tractor will
kinda
have a
sign.
loop where it
Yeah.
keeps stopping at the same.
There wasn't time this year when I decided we're
Oh,
going to
yeah.
do this.
Oh, yeah, I get
So,
it, I know.
Yeah, so next year, I've already said we need to start in January, February, and get it locked in and get the map done. But I didn't want to see it disappear. So
Right.
this is the best thing we can do right now.
I think it's a good thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I'm all about educating kids, so I wanted to see the parents bring the kids and have some fun, so. yeah.
But thank you for doing all that.
Yeah.
That's like,
I've had some help.
yes, but the planner
Yeah, well,
works
She's
24/7.
the fall guy.
yeah, I'm the fall
And
guy.
picking up phones, trust me.
And then don't forget, that night's the Deja Vu.
It's very
And
good.
this year during Rural Heritage, the spirits are gonna meet at the Gabor, and then we're all gonna walk down the street.
Yeah, so it
people
just
can-
rolls right on into this
Yeah.
deja vu thing, it's just cool. Yeah.
Very good.
Pecanapalooza comes up November, I think it's 9th.
6th.
6th, thank you. And then the Christmas event we've been talking about, so we've got that covered.
Well, you have the Cookie Crumb Trail is the 13th, then
That's
there's one
right.
dead Saturday, but give it time, somebody will plan something. And then there's Small Business
Business
Saturday, the
Saturday.
27th, and then the Holiday Festival is the first weekend, the 4th.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
Cookie
better
Crumb
not
Trail's
plan
big.
anything that last week. We gotta decorate.
One free Saturday, somebody's gonna snag it.
Oh, yeah.
All right,
That's all I
good.
got.
Anybody have anything else?
I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
What's the status of the sidewalk down to the Amarillo house?
That's a good question.
Because I get people in the shop all the time, they want to go down there, but, that bridge is dangerous, they've got kids, where are we with a sidewalk?
So we're working with the Park Services Rural Trails and something else, or TCA.
It's a big, long name, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's not much right of way. There's not much, area that we can, put a sidewalk in. So we've looked at how to make that trail work. It would include going partly across Jurdefect property, crossing the bridge, and then going on the other side of St. Mary's Road, and then following it down towards the Amarillo House.
So any type of projection on time?
I have no idea. We haven't even gotten the information back yet from RTCA that, on all of the meetings that they've had and what they found in the way of a walking and bike trail. So they've been leading this charge at this point. So I don't want to step beyond what has not been done in the past, because there's nothing that we've looked at that showed where that trail actually was going to go. We don't have easements, we don't have right of ways on some of it.
I'm glad you brought that up because I'm on St. Mary's Road and all summer long and then even into this fall, there's been a major problem with speeding when school gets let out. Kids blow through that stop sign right there at Gabourey and St. Mary's. And there's big souped up trucks, and when they see somebody outside, they floor it and, burn rubber and all this kind of stuff. And I was just wondering, because there are people that are attempting to walk it. There's people pushing baby strollers that are walking. There's bicyclists that are going through there that, maybe have rented a bicycle in town or they brought their own. And big farm equipment speeds through there. Construction trucks speed through there.
It's dangerous.
It's very dangerous, and, I've had a couple of tourists, well, more than a couple, they've had a scare, with walking to the Amarillo. Is there not a way that we could put, how they have those rubber speed bumps or those plastic ones that you pick up when it's time for winter and plowing and that you could put one at Green Tree, one somewhere in the middle, and then one by Amarillo, just that between Amarillo and Green Tree, couple of speed bumps, 2 or 3 speed bumps that are not permanent.
So city streets are not parking lots, so insurance companies will tell you no. Street speed bumps are the width of the street plus 20 feet wide, because you have to have it where it has an incline. I don't have the money for it at this point, no plans for it. So we can't do just the rubberized speed bumps, because it would be in violation of whatever our insurance covers. And if it damages a car, then we don't have any coverage for that.
What about damaging a person?
Yeah.
Could they at least look into maybe more, street signs, pedestrians, and just those kinds of things?
We can. I mean, we got signs all over the place that said,
Right.
if we have a stop sign, nobody's stopping it.
Right.
No.
And I've even called the city police or whatever. I'm like, if you want to catch a whole handful of people
Emphasis on
at
patrol,
2:45
maybe,
to 3:30,
This is where you stay.
this is where you sit. And, I don't know. There's sheriff patrols up and down there quite often. I see him and I always, wave when he goes by, but there's no one that's kind of sitting there maybe monitoring that during the day when there is a lot of tourism and pedestrian. It's quite a problem.
Yeah. I'll talk to the police chief about it and say, can we
Okay.
get somebody down there to look at that?
Yeah,
As for the trail itself, it's an expense, and is the board on, are they going to allocate for that? At this point, they want to get streets done, and have people repair their sidewalks that are in front of their homes.
There are so many streets going to school that need to be repaired.
Putting in another walking trail, a walking path and trail, if I can get some assistance with that, the city would probably jump on it, but just to spend it out of our budget itself, then we don't repair the streets in town, so.
We couldn't get a grant for that?
That's
The
what I'm
federal
talking
government's
about.
printing money like crazy.
yeah.
So,
Danny
How did
Warbucks
they get
went out
the
with
grant
money.
for the sidewalk that goes to the river?
The one to nowhere, the one I call the
Nobody
sidewalk
walks
to
on
nowhere.
that though.
What if we just like
Only maybe
scoop
4.
that one up, move it?
Just
Yeah.
peel it up
Yeah.
gently and move it.
With spatulas.
Yeah, yeah.
so that was available at the time, there's nothing available for that at this point.
Okay.
And again, we don't have any drawings sitting on the shelf saying, here's what we're going
Right.
to do this. I'm waiting for RTCA to do their part. I want to see what they come up with, because then I
I
have.
made a map if you want to just
Yeah, I
submit
got it,
that.
okay.
I can add a person. Here's a person, I can even add a car. They can be like
dog.
running into the person
And a
and then like a
dog.
stray dog running around.
Tire marks on the middle of the back.
So once you have, it shows that we've had public input, then that helps to get the grant. It's a lot easier to have that information available. If you don't have that, if you just say, yeah, we want to do this, we don't get points for that.
It's been that way for
Long
a
time.
long time. 'Cause I would even hear it at night when I was, living down there.
Hear people
They would-
scream? Hear people scream?
Screaming
I
cars.
would, the
Oh, the
cars,
cars,
just
okay.
like they were
Coyotes.
racing up and down that street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'd say, it's a great straight stretch of road.
Yeah, but,
Somebody's gonna get hit.
yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of people have moved there with children, so that's
Yeah.
the,
Well, there's the
Yes.
trailer park just
Yes,
right on the other
it's
side of
very-
Amro. It's got a lot of kids.
So just waiting to see what RTCA comes back with, and then we can see what our next steps are, and see if there is some funding available
In other words,
that would
we're
come from the
like-
federal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, same way with
Everything.
doing something with Little Rock Landing so we can tie a boat up down there.
Mhm.
We've been beating on that horse for 30 years.
Yeah, so you figure Jefferson County spent $1 million to get that done. Some of it, or most of it was gonna be grant work, but they still, there is a major expense involved in something like that. So,
let us pray.
and they have a port authority,
We have to.
and I don't think the port authority that's in St. Genevieve has talked about that, so.
Well, sure.
All right.
I
Thanks
can
for
make
coming
my own
out.
speed bumps at home.
Can I make a
Oh, I know
motion
you
to
could.
adjourn?
You certainly may.
My battery's dead and I think somebody's waiting for me at home.
Oh.
I've been out since 10 o'clock. I had 4 meetings to attend, my last one.
You're in demand.
What's that?
Of all the days, just today. Oh my God. I'm getting out. So I have to go.